Nothing like grilling stir fry on your patio while a monsoon thunderstorm rolls through. Again, one of the best places in our house is being able to grill without the food getting wet. Thanks to where I've got the grill oriented, plus the chimney by Smoker Ware, I believe it's called. Absolutely love being back here, especially when it's raining. There's your nice little thunder. About to do up some good stir fry. So, give you guys a sneak peek. There's the chicken that I'm cooking. Got to do the chicken first. Got the skillet nice and hot. And once the chicken gets completely cooked, I'll take it inside. We cut it up, dice it into real small pieces. And then while that's just hanging out in aluminum foil, staying warm inside, we do the frozen veggies, we do the rice, we do the egg. And in this case, we're doing broccoli to go in with it as well. So it's going to be really good once it's all done. Hang tight. Hopefully I'll get a video of it. All right, so next step, after I got the chicken cooked, one of the things that happens with the egg sometimes is you've got a lot of food on there, including the skillet. You're really choking out the way that the smoke can exhaust out of the egg. So when you pull off all that chicken, all you're doing is allowing that smoke to get out so much faster, and that causes a temp spike. So typically what I do is once I pull the chicken off, I have to choke up this chimney quite a bit to keep this around 400, because I want this to stay around 400 during this whole cook. And so that's what I'm doing now. So in the meantime, while this drops back down to 400, so the way that we prepare the broccoli, just in case anybody's wondering, it's actually super simple. So first off, we get the bags of broccoli, and before we put them in the bowl, we actually dump them out on the countertop and we cut them up into smaller pieces. And also we like to cut off some of the stalks, so you're really just left with a little bite-sized piece. And the other reason is a lot of times if you're going to get any browning in broccoli, it's going to be on the ends of the stalks. So once you cut all that off, you're left with nice green vegetation, right? Vegetables. You don't have any type of browning at all. And as far as what we do with it, we sprinkle just a little bit of olive oil, and the one that we like, I'm going to leave a link in the description of this video. It's actually sauteing and grilling oil specifically, and we just do, just a dab around. I don't know exactly how much, right? It's just, by force of habit, just a little bit of olive oil in there, and then we sprinkle some salt, and then we have a slice of butter. And you can see the thickness of the butter. Don't know how well the focus is going to work there because it's contrasting depths, but you can kind of gauge the thickness of the butter. And the reason for that is to grease up the cast iron skillet, so of course this doesn't stick to it. And that's it for the broccoli. So let's check back on the temp. So it looks like we're getting a little bit closer. I'm going to choke it just a little bit, but in the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and put this on. Always burp your Komodo. Do you see that fire come out? It's exactly why you always burp it, because if not, you're going to lose any hair that's close by. Let's just say that. In my case, normally it's arm hair. All right, so let that piece of butter float around, and then we just dump in the broccoli. This is nice and hot. The skillet's super hot. Close it up so that temp can stay around 400. And typically what I'll do for this cast iron skillet, what we're doing now is for the stir fry, the broccoli will stay in through the rest of the stir fry cook. So I'll let the broccoli sit for probably 5 minutes, come back and kind of stir it up real good for another 5, and then once 10 minutes has passed, I'll move all that to the side. I'll add the frozen veggies, let those cook for an additional 5 minutes. Then I'll add the egg, and it's what we do in this particular recipe is 6 cracked eggs, whisked in a bowl so that when you dump it in, it's almost like you were doing scrambled eggs. Put those into one side of the skillet after you've moved everything to the half of the skillet. Let the egg scramble, kind of toss them around every now and then. And then the final step is to take the rice and the cut up chicken pieces that we have made inside. So the chicken, you obviously saw me cook. It's been cut up inside. The rice is the only thing that we don't make on the grill just because we don't have the real estate to do it. So we make the rice inside in a pot. Once the rice is done, we add the rice, add the sliced chicken, stir it all up, and let it sit for another 5 or 10 minutes, and it turns out phenomenal. So hang tight for another check-in, and this is the process of making the stir fry. Okay guys, as promised, here's the next step. We use some mixed frozen veggies. So these have been in the freezer all the way up until now. So again, burp the egg, open it up. You can see I've already stirred the broccoli, moved it over. Pour in the frozen veggies. Let that marinate for a good 5 minutes. And we're gonna stir them one time. So after 5 minutes, we're gonna mix them all together, let it hang for another 5. Then we're gonna do the egg. And then after the eggs have scrambled a bit, then we're gonna add the rice and the chicken, mix it all together, and we're gonna have some awesome stir fries. Stay tuned. All right, looks like this weather's finally quit dropping rain on us. So we have done, let's summarize our steps so far. So we've cooked the chicken, it's gone inside, we've cut it up into little pieces and put it under aluminum foil. The next step is we put the broccoli on, let it brown just a little bit, and cook it in the cast iron skillet with a stick of butter, or a slice of butter I should say. After about 5 minutes, we kind of stirred it up, once during the 5 minutes. Then we added the frozen veggies, and we let that cook for another 5 minutes, and I just now stirred everything together. It's been about 5 more minutes. So now what we're gonna do is when I open this, we're gonna move the frozen veggies and the broccoli over to one side of the skillet, and then we're gonna add our eggs. So let me show you guys what I'm talking about. So again, burp this guy, you never know. And of course the wind would blow my towel back into my egg over here. You know how that goes. All right, so before we dump the egg in, like I was saying, we're gonna move all this over to one side. You're basically going to be treating one side of this skillet just as if you were making scrambled eggs, quite literally. That's the goal, is to kind of start them scrambling. You don't have to flip them a ton of times, but when we pour the egg in, notice how it kind of naturally separates because of the barrier we just built. So we'll close that. And normally what I do at this point, I set a timer for about 4 minutes, and I may stir the eggs once during that 4 minutes. So halfway, about 2 minutes, I'll open it back up, flip them around, kind of see how, based on the temp, how they're actually scrambling up. And once you actually get a firm egg so you can cut it into pieces and break it apart, that's when I start mixing everything together and let it hang out for another 5 minutes, and then we add everything else back on. So when you add these little 5 minutes together that I've been talking about in this video, it's not exactly the quickest meal. Once the egg is ready and you start cooking the chicken, basically the chicken is 15 minutes by itself just to cook the chicken. Then you have to take it inside and cook your broccoli and your frozen veggies, and now the egg. Then in tandem or in parallel, you're cooking the rice inside. You bring all that back out and let it hang out for another 5 minutes just together, like all mixed in to warm everything back up. So you're probably looking at about a 45-minute cook from the time you put the chicken on until the time it's ready to take off the grill and eat. But it is absolutely worth it. So I'm going to put the recipe and the steps that I've taken in the description of this video below, so make sure you take a look at that. So stay tuned, and we're almost done with this step. And I would be remiss if I didn't say part of the instructions is having a nice cold beverage to enjoy while you're grilling all this for about 45 minutes. So tonight we've got the New Realm Brewing Company. This is actually really good. It's called Hoptropolis IPA. I actually had this for the first time at Mellow Mushroom while waiting on a to-go pizza order. Very, very tasty beer. I highly encourage you guys to check it out. All right, guys, this is the first time we're cracking it. It's been, I will tell you in just a second, you can see the egg. Check out my timer here. Yep, so it's been exactly 4 minutes. We haven't done anything with the eggs yet, and notice how you've literally almost got an omelet, right? So very, very close. Just kind of stir this up, and I'm gonna let it hang out for another 4. And mess with the veggies over here if you like, just to hopefully turn over some of them that are on the bottom. You don't want to get them too blackened, but definitely having a little bit of blackened to your veggies is awesome. I mean, the broccoli alone is so good in this skillet, but you want to make sure the eggs are firming up before you start mixing them all together. So I'm going to do that right there, just kind of stir them up, and you can see they're firming. So go ahead and close this guy, and on the old trusty watch we're probably going to do, I'm actually going to drop it down to 3 more minutes. So we'll give it 3 more minutes, and then we're going to mix everything together. We're going to add the rice, we're going to add the chicken, let it chill for another 5, and then we'll be ready to eat. Alright guys, back with you again. Now we should be ready to do a mix, a remix if you will, right? Alright, let's check on our eggs. Looks like they're firming up perfectly well. So what we're going to do now is mix in all the egg with the veggies. Just try to get a good mix. Alright, now we've got all that in. You can chop up the eggs if you like, you know, depends on how you like your eggs. You like little tiny bite-sized pieces, or you like getting a little bit bigger chunks. That's entirely up to you guys. So now, as you can see, I've got my plate of chicken. So that's going to be the next thing to go in. There's all the chicken that we made. Next thing that goes in is this big giant plate of rice, and I hope I don't make a mess of this with one hand. So apologies if the phone is shaking. Only so much I can do to try to give you guys a good video footage, right? So there we go. Now, before we close it first time, you want to, of course, not lose that precious piece of chicken. But you want to mix it up as best you can. Now, we use 2 bags of this rice, again, inside. And that gives you really the quantity that you get, right? Because if you only used 1 bag of rice, certainly it's still going to be good. It won't go as far. So if you're trying to make a meal for a big family, or you want some to go, you know, some leftovers for lunch, and this is awesome, by the way, reheated for a couple days, want to make sure you use 2 bags of the rice. Now, what I have done at this stage before, I'm not going to do right now. You could add a little bit of soy sauce or whatever your favorite, you know, sauce is. We love the Yum Yum sauce, and I'm going to also link to the description of that. But that's not something you would add on the grill. That's something that you add individually in your bowl. So that right there is it. Now, what we're going to do now to give it a nice smoky flavor, we're going to close this, and we're going to set our timer back for 5 minutes, and then we're going to be done. Okay guys, as one final real quick clip to this particular video, I want to show you what the finished product looks like when I open it for the first time. And remember, this is delicious. It serves a large group of people, and if it's a small group, you have a lot of leftovers, and it's delicious for a couple days. The Yum Yum sauce, in my opinion, is an absolute requirement, but to each their own. You know, we've tried regular and spicy. Personally, I love the spicy Yum Yum sauce. Again, I'll link in the description. You can marinate the chicken however you like. I use a mix between, sometimes I'll use barbecue sauce, and Stubbs Sweet Heat is the only barbecue sauce that I'll use. Again, link in the description. Sometimes I'll do barbecue sauce and a little bit of seasoning. Other times, like today, I'll use Worcestershire sauce and a little bit of seasoning. That's totally up to you, however you like your chicken to taste. Everything else is fairly self-explanatory, as I have explained throughout this video. And at this point, we are done. So burp this guy, you can see it's nice and hot, and that is your finished product. It is absolutely delicious. It's got broccoli, it's got frozen veggies, it's got grilled chicken, it's got rice, and it is phenomenal once you add the Yum Yum sauce. So at this point, I'm going to take my gloves, take it inside, and we're going to get down on some of this. So if you haven't already, make sure to like this video if you found this recipe useful. Subscribe to the channel for more great recipes coming. Stay safe, stay healthy, and thanks for stopping by. Have a fantastic day.